Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another one of my videos. I find myself Villa Vacation in the Himos Ski Resort in the middle of Finland. I've got the privilege now to, one, stay in this villa, maybe cross-country ski later, but the thing I'm actually most looking forward to doing is snowmobiling. Before the sun sets over here, I'm hoping to get a little bit of daylight in.
It's called like monkey.
Monkey. Monkey. Like donuts. Monkey. Thank you.
So they give you a...
It's a donut. We'll call it monkey.
Monkey! That's an example of the laughs we have here.
So despite it being 4 o'clock, the sun has pretty much gone down. I'll be honest, we started a little bit late because food got in the way. But there's been no drinking. Because you have to have a driving license to use this snowmobile in Finland.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
I know that's not true in other parts of the world, but they take their rules very, very seriously in Finland.
If you disobey the rules of society, they send you to prison.
They're very polite in Finland. I know if I was elsewhere, a guy might just try and run me over. But in Finland, not the case. Leaving the Himos centre behind, and we're gonna use one of these beasts. A little bit like Mario Karts. Let's see who can get the best start, I say. Oh yeah. Basically, if you're curious how these things go, that's the acceleration, that's the brake, and obviously that turns it on. Emergency stop. I'm going to enjoy this, I think. Welcome to another one of my videos. If this is your first time on my channel, I am the Wandering Englishman, originally known as Alex. As you can see, you find me snowmobiling in the Lakelands of central Finland. I'm 7k from the center of Jämsä. Right now I'm driving across the frozen lake of Lake Päijänne, which stretches all the way to another lake. I'm probably pronouncing this completely wrong, but Lake Päijänne. I started this tour at the Himos Resort, which is where I had the monkey, which is what we in England call ring donuts, but I love the fact that the Finns seem to have an obsession about the monkey, which caused me to be a little bit David Brent upon learning about it, I'll be honest. Himos is a fairly low-lying resort, but there are a number of ski slopes, and if you come back here in the summer, there's apparently some pretty decent music festivals, from metal to techno. I haven't seen that myself yet. I've certainly made a note to come back in the summer potentially, if the Finns will take me, of course. Now, what I'm riding on at the moment is simply called a snowmobile. In some parts of the world it's called a skidoo, a snow machine, a sled, a motor sled, a motor sledge, a ski mobile, or a snow scooter. Basically, it's a motorized vehicle designed for winter travel. The tracks are usually made of a Kevlar composite, and these machines, if pushed, can get over to 100 kilometers an hour. Although you are risking your life if you try and do that, but more on that later. I have to say, that's quite fun. It's a lot of fun. Out of the moon, I don't know if you can see it, but the moon is over there. Probably can't hear me either. The moon's up there. Got all this ice in front of us. It's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
As I've got a little bit of your attention, and I'm a big fan of history, I thought today's history lesson would be the history of snowmobiles. It wasn't until the second half of the 20th century did we see snowmobiles being used recreationally by riders. These riders are often called snowmobilers, sledders, slednecks. Slednecks you'll find in North America, obviously a sort of connotation to the rednecks. You can have all types of recreational riding when it comes to snowmobiling, which is what I'm going to call it, snowmobiling. Snowcross racing, trail riding, freestyle, bondocking, ditch banging. I have no idea what that is, but I wanted to say the word, but it sounds fascinating. I'm presuming you're banging over ditches as opposed to banging the ditches. And grass drags. Despite what I just said, in the summertime snowmobilers can use these on grass, but please don't use these on the roads. Or even the brave can skip across very shallow water. The snowmobile greatly changed the lives of communities in the Northern Hemisphere, especially those in North America, but also the Northern Scandinavian communities where the snowmobile replaced sled dogs. And if you're curious about sled dogs, check out my video on dog racing. Link just there. The snowmobile greatly improved communication between isolated communities such as the Inuit in North America. As a result of their inherent maneuverability, acceleration and high speed abilities, skill and physical strength are both required to operate a snowmobile. However, it is not beyond amateurs to be able to jump on these, have a go. Just wear the correct kit. Because snowmobile injuries and fatalities are very high compared to those caused on other road vehicles. It's very easy to lose control of a snowmobile, and if you do, you could end up with extensive damage, injury, or even death. A common cause of a snowmobile accident is a loss of control from a loose grip. Probably not a good idea to be riding these things with one hand, which I obviously do sometimes while trying to film. Obviously, if a rider falls off, this can result in the snowmobile colliding with a nearby object, such as any rock or tree.
Well, here I am just waiting for everyone now. When you're in a group, you gotta wait for people. Here they come.
He waits. That's what he does. And they'll tell you what. Tick followed talk, followed tick, followed talk, followed tick.
Well, I have to say, I wish I had a cameraman to sort of film this, because this is incredible. Under the moonlight, and I'm getting to zigzag on the off-piste. Not really supposed to be doing that, I'm sure, but when you're, if you slow down and then the person leading need a catching line, you can really put some pace into this.
We've just stopped over here. Underneath the moonlight is a sauna village. We're not doing the sauna right now. All of these were like made in the 1940s. I probably can't see any of these. It's 24 huts here.
It's too dark, I can't see.
Hey, so you probably think I'm standing in the middle of a field, but I'm not. I'm in the middle of a lake. 85 meters below me is the bottom. This is ice, and as far as you can see, if you can see anything...
Negative. Too dark. Target unclear.
...is the edge of the lake. Absolutely crazy. Crazy.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, sorry about that. You really couldn't see much there. I wanted to include it just because I thought it was fascinating that there was a sauna village literally out in the middle of nowhere. And that I was literally standing on Finland's deepest lake. While it's incredibly fun to be swerving all over the place, it can cause crashes. If a rider goes off-piste, they may hit barbed wire, fencing, they may even fall off a cliff. It's very common for snowmobilers to hit other automobiles, pedestrians, and even animals, as well as falling through the thin ice. In North America, where you'll find snowmobiles being commonly used, a crazy sport where the rider races along the rails has basically become very popular. But the problem with this is the snowmobile is a very loud machine. So what often happens is the snowmobile is going down the railway tracks, doesn't hear the train coming for them, and then gets hit. And then the law of Darwin takes over, and that's game over for that rider. But the more common way for an accident to happen is a collision with a large animal, such as a moose or a deer. These often will venture into the tracks, especially at night time. And before you can slam the brakes on or stop the snowmobile, you are going headfirst into a moose's antlers or a deer's antlers, and it's game over for you and the animal. Another common way to kill yourself from one of these snowmobiles, I certainly don't want to put you off because I'll be honest, riding these snowmobiles is a lot of fun, but a common way of people dying is when they are on a frozen lake. The weight of a snowmobile distributes itself to the extent where the ice doesn't crack, but as soon as the rider gets off and they just stand with their 2 feet on the ice, suddenly the ice gives in because their weight is not spread and they go straight through the ice. This tends to happen in the early season and the late season when the ice is getting a little bit thin. Thankfully, when I was on the lakes, the ice was incredibly thick. But it does give you a little bit of apprehension, knowing that if you fall through the ice, you're probably going to end up dead, especially at night time. Obviously, risk to snowmobiling can be reduced through education, proper training, appropriate gear, attention to warnings, keeping to speed limits. Obviously, as tempting as it might be to have a few beers on the trip or before the trip, don't drink and drive. It's not a good idea. But I have to say, I'm very grateful for the Himos Centre to allow me to snowmobile with them on this trip. I had a lot of fun. If you guys are interested, there's a link in the description for details on how you can go snowmobiling if you're ever in central Finland. The last time I rode a Polaris was in my parents' swimming pool. They have a Polaris swimming pool little robot. Not quite the same. This thing, on the last stretch, I managed to get up to 80 kph. That was very, very cool. Thank you, Polaris. Apparently the guy on his day off...
Please don't say that.
Well, we shouldn't say this because the speed limit is 80. Thank you, Kel John. This was a good time. Massively recommend this. If you are in the Himos Centre, do come and check out the snowmobiling. It's a lot of fun. I was really surprised by how much fun that was. I really couldn't capture that on camera, but that was a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. The link is in the description below. I recommend, you can't see it, under the full moon when the wolves come out. Fantastic. Honestly fantastic. Anyway, if you like this content and you want to watch another video like this, click subscribe. Check out the collection of almost 400 videos. Hopefully you won't be disappointed, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time.